WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
Thank you for joining us today, folks. Later on, Egyptian-American Dr. Mustafa Hefney will be with us. He wants to tell his story about his fight. He's had a long fight to be classified as a black man in America. But before we get to Dr. Hefney, Sister Brenda Muhammad is going to join us right now. She's going to give us a preview of this Thursday's Women's Rally for Justice or Else, sort of a prelude to Saturday's big event. Number to call to speak to Sister Brenda is 800-450-7876. Again, that's 800-450-7876. Before we get to Sister Brenda, I just want to tell you about Craig Hewlett's going to be with us later this week. There's so much stuff going on the international front. We got to get some information from Craig about what's going on. If Snowden says he'd come back to prison if he's trying to get back after all what he dropped on about the NSA. We've also got Putin and Syria. There's just so much stuff going on the international front. Well, Craig Hewlett's going to cover all of that for us later this week. But join us right now is Sister Brenda Muhammad. Sister Brenda, assalamu alaikum, my sister.
Alaikum salam. How are you? You're one of our biggest supporters, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan absolutely loves you, brother, and so do the rest of us.
Right, and we're looking forward to Saturday's event, but you're having an event before Saturday. But before we get to that, give us a little bit of history about you, because when did you join the nation?
Wow, I came in 2 weeks after the Million Man March. I was working in the Sigma headquarters 20 years ago as a volunteer and as a member of Union Temple Baptist Church. And I heard the minister give a speech that no nation could rise any higher than this woman. And that just triggered the desire for me to change, to grow, to evolve into the better part of myself. And I absolutely love it.
So that was at the first Million Man March. He said something, because you're not the only one. And for the folks who follow us on our Power Talk 2 creation, is Brother James who created the DVDs. He also told me that that's when he joined the nation. He actually went to the Million Man March, and he just heard this really strong speech by the minister, and he decided to join the nation. And basically, that's what you're saying as well, right?
Yeah, that's what I was instantly transformed, because as a woman, a black woman growing up in America, I never knew who I was. I defined myself from my breast down instead of my shoulders up. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us that we were the second self of God. Well, I never heard that before. What do you mean, sir, the second self of God? And when he explained it, I saw, that the value that God had placed in me, I did not embrace it, and that I was transformed immediately.
Now, and this is someone who's very well educated as well. I mean, you've been to schools, grad school, you've been college education. Didn't you learn this in any of the schools that you went to?
No, sir. And today I'm a college professor, but I never learned who I was. What I learned was that, I was a playgirl, defined as a B and a W, but never, ever, ever was I told that I was so special to God that he decided to choose me to reproduce himself in his image and in his likeness. My mother never told me. My grandmother never told me. They never knew. But the minister said it. When he said it, it connected with the truth that was inside of me.
Wow, that's an amazing story, because, usually, we go to school, and we figure out, we learn everything. It seems like learning is constant. But again, now you're a professor. Do you teach this to your students, or you just sort of keep that to the side?
Well, I don't teach religion. I teach communication, which is the basis of all human development. But I do put it in. For example, I had a young Asian student to tell the class that his people were the original people. Well, that gave me an opportunity to go into the history, bring up Leakey, and show them what Leakey said. They sat through the video, they watched it, and when Leakey verified that the oldest known human being on the planet was a black woman out of West Africa. And then the young student, he couldn't believe it, and so I said, okay, let me show you your people. And I went to a video that the minister had shared with us and took him all the way back to the beginning of his people and showed him that his oldest ancestor was jet black with wide features, full lips, and he was shocked. He couldn't believe it. So I put it in that way.
And the reaction for the rest of the students when they saw this?
Oh, they're shocked. They're shocked. They're absolutely shocked. This whole thing about global and institutional racism and Trayvon Martin and all the other young men who have been killed, I didn't introduce it under those titles. But what I did was I told them that there was a time in history where people, members of the human family, were not known by their race. They were known by their by their occupation. For example, we always knew that the ruling class, the kings and queens, came first. Under them were the doctors and lawyers, and then, of course, the educators, and so on and so on. And so I asked them, when was the concept of being a nigger introduced? They were shocked. And so I listed all of the members of the human family. San Donkey. I said, who is a San Donkey? Who is a San nigger? Well, those are the names that were given to the Arabs. Who is a potato nigger? Well, according to the text, it's the Irish. And so who is the zipper? That's the Asian. And when I went through that whole list of derogatory terms that had been used to identify all the members of the human family, I asked them who did it and why. Let's examine it. And so, yes, I do teach it, but I teach it so that it's a lasting fact for them, and I back it up with evidence.
Yeah, but what was their reaction when you told them that? Because that's fascinating. Because we're on the outside and we don't get to have these conversations with white folks, and especially young whites. I'd love to see the reaction on their faces when you pose that question and show them and put the evidence in front of them. Do they seem like they were soaking it in, that they would believe in it, or they still held on to their past views?
They were shocked. My class is minority whites, approximately 4 to 5. The rest of them represent every member of the human family. And so under nigger, I wrote wigger. I asked how many know who or what this term stands for, was nigger. And every hand went up in the class. So then I wrote wigger on the board, and I asked them how many recognize this term, and only 4 or 5 did, and they were the white boys. And so I said, sir, will you come to the front of the class and explain what a wigger is? And he said, it's a white boy trying to be a nigger. They were shocked. They laughed. They were shocked. And let me tell you something. I missed one of my classes, forgot to send my students a notice that I wasn't going to be there. And when I came the following week, they told me that they had sat in that classroom for 35 minutes waiting for me. They're supposed to give me 15. They said that they called me and where were you? Why weren't you here? Because I teach the truth of the human family. And they absolutely soak it up. They're shocked, number one, by the topic, but they welcome the truth. And because I don't say that, so-and-so said this or so-and-so said that, I ask the question, something that's on their mind. And I told them, I said, this whole thing about Boogerman, how many know the Boogerman? All the hands went up, basically, those who grew up in America, but from other countries. And I said to them, do you know that the Boogerman was originated back in the early 1900s? And today, the Boogerman was Emmett Till, Trayvon Martin. That's the Boogerman. The man that you're supposed to be afraid of who's going to hurt or harm you.
Right. Hold that thought, Sister Brenda. We got to step aside for a traffic and weather update for our folks in the DMV. We'll continue our conversation in a moment. Folks, you too can get in on this dialogue. Sister Brenda Muhammad joins us. Her number to call is 800-450-7876. Again, it's 800-450-7876. Your calls after the traffic and weather report on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Good morning, D.C. This traffic update this morning brought to you by Stanley Martin Homes. We'll start on 301 heading northbound. Right at Shortcut Road, we have a crash in Brandywine. Taking up the left lane, your delays begin from right around McKendree Road. D.C. 295 slows southbound from Burroughs Avenue to Pennsylvania. And looking at 50 now inbound, a little sluggish between Columbia Park Road and Kenilworth Avenue. Stanley Martin's move-in ready homes are brand new and offer all of the advantages of a new home without the wait. Settle before the end of the year and receive the premium moving package. Visit StanleyMartin.com, EHO. This weather update brought to you by the Foundation for a Better Life. Winston Churchill's words stirred his country in the face of defeat. Today they inspire us to reach for our own victories. Commitment, pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. Today mostly sunny and pleasant. Highs in the mid-70s. Tonight mostly cloudy. Lows in the upper 50s. Right now mostly clear, on the cool side, 51 degrees. I'm Tony Thornton for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
To the insurance company I'm leaving behind. You've scorned me for the last time. I've met another who makes me sing like a lark with the first morning dew. It happened all so quickly. In just 15 minutes, Geico swept me into a loving car insurance embrace and saved me hundreds of dollars and sleepless nights. Now I needn't worry if you'll be receptive to my automobile needs. Geico will be there for me in all the ways you never could. Regards, Sylvia in Silver Spring.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. The following is a serious Geico commercial.
Geico's been perfecting car insurance for over 75 years, and that's not silly. There's nothing wacky about Geico's commitment to innovation, like their award-winning mobile app that helps you manage your policy and process claims. Nothing to chuckle about there. And of course, Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance, which should tickle your money bone, not your funny bone.
Geico, saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years.
Those of us who were around in the 50s and 60s struggling, many of us have gotten tired, and we let the enemy have his way. Well, I did my best, they'll say, and you all take it now. I'm just going to sit down and relax or retire. I have never seen a lion retire from being a lion. I may not bite as hard as I used to, but I can still bite.
Don't miss the Farrakhan Speaks broadcast this and every Sunday at 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. right here on WOL 1450 AM, where information is power. That's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on the air this Sunday at 8 a.m. If you missed last Sunday's message, you have to hear him this Sunday. Don't miss it.
Carl Nelson live and local from 6 to 10 a.m. on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. It's 12 after the hour with Sister Brenda Muhammad. There's going to be a rally before the big Justice or Else rally on Saturday. It's going to take Thursday. Sister Brenda's going to tell us about that. But before we get into that, to get into her background, she's a college professor and also a member of the Nation of Islam. And she says she joined 2 weeks after the 1995 historic Million Man March. Now, in your classes, Sister Brenda, because you teach young people, and some of them have a skewed view of Minister Farrakhan. Do they ask you about Minister Farrakhan? Do you try to tell them what Minister Farrakhan really is all about?
No, sir. I don't teach the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at all because, as you said, the students have a skewed view, and I don't want to lose them. My goal is to educate them, to broaden their minds so that they really become the innovators in what God has created them to be. And so I teach them so that they will know who they are, how history has affected what they do, and respond to it appropriately.
Well, why do you think that there's such a skewed view, as I call it, of the minister? Because the people who don't really know him, and they seem to have, they just rely on what other people have said about them or what they read in the newspapers, and they don't get a chance to hear him speak, and they won't give themselves a chance to hear him speak. Why do you think that he's put into this little corner?
I think it's just fear and ignorance. I think that many people have come to rely on the media for their information. And whatever the media says, even if it's an assumption or an allegation or allege that a person has done a thing, we capture that and we hold on to it. And we're just frightened to find out for ourselves, we have been brainwashed. And this justice or else, of course, there are lots of groups that support the minister, but they support him behind closed doors. They don't want to be seen with him in the public, and justice or else frighten many of them. But, you know, justice or else, we the members in the Nation of Islam, don't carry as much as a penknife. We don't fight with anybody that doesn't fight with us. And so we are very peaceful people. When the minister says justice or else, he is saying, or else we will pull back our economic strength. And Dr. King said, just the night before he died, he said, we don't have to argue with anybody. We don't have to curse and go around acting bad with our words. We don't need any bricks or bottles. All that we need is, number one, to unite economically. And based on that, the justice will come. But as long as we remove ourselves from that and don't pull out all 45 million of us together to build a strong economic base, well, you know, the lifestyle that's common now in the streets of America will continue.
You know, Sister Brenda, when the minister announced justice or else, some people, some commentators even took it to mean that they thought it was going to be a throwdown with white folks. And they let that percolate out there for a while before correcting it. And some people, you know, hung on the fact that they didn't get into the financial aspect that you just explained, what justice or else means. Do you think they let that stay out there too long?
Well, I don't think so, because truth always prevails. You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asked all of his supporters as he travels around the world. He gave all of us assignments. He should read the last two speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King. He was not the man that's portrayed in the media now where he had a dream. Before he died, he became one of the greatest revolutionaries that was on the planet. But that part of Dr. King has been suppressed. Go back and read it. But yeah, that was out there. Now, here's the common sense part of it. How could it mean violence when we, as a race of people, don't own any weapons, major weapons? We don't produce any guns. We don't produce any military artillery. We don't have any airplanes. The things that are used to really create violence, we don't have it. And one of the things that the minister said is, who do you blame for the condition that our people are in? Do you blame the pot or the powder? The one that created and shaped and molded and put all of the ingredients to make this pot into what it is. And so we are really very passive, loving people, but we've been turned to something that goes against our nature. And, you know, there we are. But no, never any violence. The minister would never advocate violence. He loved his people. He's not trying to see them get mowed down and shot down with dogs and tear gas. No. That is why he is calling for justice or else. He is asking us to boycott Black Friday. Black Friday is one of the biggest paydays in the year. He wants us to show America that we do count, that they have to give us justice. And yes, we love America. We were raised in America. We love the principles of America, but we certainly don't like the injustice that has come with being a citizen here.
Well, you know, some of these department stores have already started their Christmas shopping. Christmas specials already. I don't know if it's in anticipation of that, but they've already started. How do you combat this? Because, you know, other folks that are shopping online, they're already saying that they expect the decline, but they expect that more people are going to be shopping online. What's your message to our people when you hear this?
I do know the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, all he can do is ask. He has laid his life on the line for the last 60, 70 years. He absolutely wants freedom, justice, and equality for our people. And not only our people, he has invited the Native Americans. He's met with them all around the country. They're coming. They're coming, Brother Paul. I'm telling you, they're coming. He has met with the Latino, our brown brothers and sisters, about their injustices. They feel like they've been haven't been treated justly. They're coming. The Asians, they're coming. And even poor whites, he's invited them. Anyone who has not been treated justly. The veterans, women, they're coming, Brother Paul. He called for 10,000 fearless. That's all he wants. Fearless.
But Sister Brenda, some black folks are really upset with that because they're saying that, why do we have to invite the other people into our struggle? Why can't it just be for blacks?
Well, that's why we haven't achieved international and national economic, political, and educational recognition that we so deserve, because the wealth of this country was built on us. Now, these are members of the human family, whether we like it or not. They have been treated unjustly as well. And how dare anybody call our brown brothers aliens? How dare them when they were once the owners of part of this country? And then we listen to the sound bites, and then we start calling them aliens. That is just as bad as calling each other niggers, And so, no, sir. It is for all of God's children. Anybody, black, white, green, yellow, it doesn't matter. He wants us to come together.
21 minutes after the hour, 800-450-7876. Speak to Sister Brenda Muhammad. Let's go to line 1. I tell you what, hang on, it's Brother Tabakuti. I hear my drummers warming up. We got to take a quick break. We'll speak to you on the other side. Folks, you too can join the dialogue with Sister Brenda. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876. Again, that's 800-450-7876. Your calls after this short break. As the big show rolls on from 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Listen Wednesday, October 14th from 10:30 to 11 a.m. on WOL News Talk 1450, Montgomery Mosaic, a show focused on your community in Montgomery County. Join host Deborah Milo as she welcomes Evan Glass, Executive Director of the Gandhi Brigade, who will talk about their youth-produced documentary, Juvenile Justice, The Road to Reform. Tune in to hear more about this event and how you can join in both the free screening of the video and the follow-up discussion afterwards. Montgomery Mosaic, Wednesday, October 14th from 10:30 to 11 a.m. on WOL News Talk 1450 a.m.
Before girls' night out, my eczema flared up. Ugh, I felt like canceling. But then I tried Cortisone 10 Eczema Relief. It's specially formulated for eczema and has 1% hydrocortisone, the strongest non-prescription itch medicine for fast, lasting itch relief. It quickly stopped the itch and soothed my red, dry, flaky skin. With Cortisone 10 Eczema Relief, I was ready for girls' night out, and it was the best one ever.
Cortisone 10 Eczema Relief. Feel the heal. Use as directed.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today?
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show. On Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
Thank you for staying with us, folks. 800-450-7876. Again, that's 800-450-7876 to speak to Sister Brenda. Let's go to line 1. Tabakuti's joined us from the ATL. Tabakuti, you're on with Sister Brenda.
Well, good morning, Carl, and good morning, Sister Brenda. How are you?
Good morning, beloved.
Good. My question to you, Sister Brenda, is this. Okay, I heard you was talking about the Justice Sorrells. Now, previously, I went to the website, and it had it still has a face of this Indian up there beside Louis Farrakhan. And the previous version of the website, it had a sign up there stating that that they had a sign from the Mexicans saying that you call me illegal, but, this is my country, and said something about you illegal, but that the part about the Mexican has been removed. And my question to you is, okay, we got the book by Dr. David M. Hotep. The first Americans were Africans, okay? Yes. And then we have another brother, Brother Nasir. I'm waiting to get his book, where his book is The Paleo Americans, stating that black people are the first people on this land. Now, if we're not going to stay, and I heard what you said about the students and how you, and that's true, a number of these students, as well as some people, because I've worked with some, and they look at the books that I bring to work, and they are fascinated by what I bring to work.
Yes.
But what I want to say is that, because, see, according to Dr. Nasir, the people who identified as Indians, they were told when they were complaining about being massacred, they said, according to him, he said, they told them, you cannot complain because you were killing the people who was here when you got here. So if we are not going to, explain to these people that they are not the first people in this land, that black people are, I think we are doing ourselves a disjustice, because people will continue to promote that perspective. And I think if we're going to go out and talk about the first, we are going to have to come out and tell even those people and let them know that, unfortunately, you're not the first people in this land, that black people are. And I want to know what you think about that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. First of all, we as black people are bigger than a land mass, than the United States, than North America, South America. We are the very first people on the planet. So I would just say that as black people, we should not limit ourselves to a particular piece of land, because we're greater, bigger, better than that. The Bible in Genesis 15 through 18, when God comes to Abraham, and says to Abraham, no other surety, and that's in today's language, that means you can bet on this, that thy seed shall be taken to a far away land, and there thy seed, you and me, shall serve them. But then I will come. And so that right there verifies who we are. Let me add something to that. He said, and there thy seed will serve them for 400 years. Well, from 1965 to 2005, it was 400 years. That's us they're talking about. So we're bigger than a landmass. We are, as Dr. Leakey said, a well-known anthropologist, we were here. Yes, we were here first. And so we need not argue about you came first, I came second. We know who we are. We know that. And if other members of the human family want to feel like, well, I was here first, all praises to God. Let's unite. Because we are the mothers and the fathers, and we don't have to justify that to anybody. Okay, well, I kind of think if we're going to put the truth out there, you talked about the truth, and that is the truth. Because, see, I'm looking at how when Malcolm X's grandson went to Mexico, he had an issue with his bar tab, and there were some college students that went down to Mexico as well, and they had some type of issue too. Mm-hmm. Malcolm X's grandson was killed. Right. One of the college students had to run for their life, and one of them was killed. But I'm looking at all the hostility that comes from the other people, even the Indians. They kicked all the black people out of the tribe. It's like, well, we don't need y'all no more. We don't want y'all. But what I'm looking at is that everybody, see, I don't feel like I'm the other races, other people's parent. Everybody comes to us when they want something, and when they get it, they throw us to the side like we're just garbage. And my position is that at some point, we as a people, I think we are going to have to stand up and stop allowing other people to use us for their own self-aggrandizement. Because when we don't allow
black people to do us like this. And my position is that I think that, for us to promote this, to say that the Indians are indigenous to this land, because if you are really about telling the truth, then we are going to have to raise that issue, to say that, look, granted, yes, we are the first people on this planet, and it has been proven that we were the first people. Everywhere you go, if you dig deep enough, you will find that it was black people that was there first, because there's some, they have found some ruins in Zimbabwe. And the white people, they just thought that, oh, well, we know these ruins are just so advanced. And we know that they couldn't do this. They dug a few more layers, and they were like, dang, they did that too. So I think we are going, it's not about saying we're better than anybody else, but if we are saying that we are putting out truth, and then we got to put out the first part of who that human family was, and that was us.
And I agree with you 100%, and I thank you. I applaud you for sharing the knowledge with your students, because as you said, when truth comes to students, it's like a light bulb that goes off, and they're just hungry for knowledge, hungry for the truth. And I think that each of us have a responsibility to spread that truth. But yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Brother Tabakuti. 800-450-7876. And you spoke as a college professor. What do you look for in a student? You're trying to connect with them, just like how when you heard when you heard the minister speak at the Million Man March, your original Million Man March, it struck a chord with you. Do you, as a professor, do you try to find that similar way to reach students?
Well, I don't look for it. I know it's there. I know it's there because of the culture in which they came up, which was much more difficult than the culture in which I came up. And so I just walk into my classroom armed with truth, and I'll put a topic out there. Now, what normally happens is that one or two students will pull me aside and say, may I speak to you? And I said, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, of course. And they begin to pour out the pain that they have experienced in their lives. And so that tells me that they're waiting on us, their professors, their teachers, their educators, to bring them truth, because that truth ultimately frees them to be the kind of man and woman that God has created them to be. And then I want to say something about your advertising on bullying. It is absolutely wonderful. It talks about how the young people are being bullied because they're fat.
Hold that thought right there, Sister Brenda. I'll let you talk about that on the other side. We have a news break coming up. Folks, you too can get in on the discussion with Sister Brenda Muhammad. She's part of the Nation of Islam. She says there's going to be a big event this Thursday. We're going to get into that as well, a women's rally for justice or else before the big Saturday rally. You too can get in, as I mentioned. Just reach out to us at 800-450-7876. We'll take your phone calls after this news update on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Good morning, I'm Mike Fortier. Here's the latest from News1.com, brought to you in part by the Foundation for a Better Life. Winston Churchill's words stirred his country in the face of defeat. Today they inspire us to reach for our own victories. Commitment, pass it on, from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. No life-threatening injuries reported after a D.C. police SUV and a fire truck collided northwest. Yesterday afternoon's accident along Porter Street near Connecticut Avenue sends a police officer to the hospital, but that officer was conscious. The force of the crash sends the police SUV into a parked vehicle. Virginia Task Force 1 getting to work after arriving in flood-ravaged South Carolina. It takes 80 members of the Fairfax County Urban Search and Rescue Team only hours from the time they received the call Sunday night to the time they arrived yesterday afternoon. The team has 4 search dogs and 8 boats with them. D.C. police say the finding of a dead woman in Southeast is prompting an undetermined death investigation. The body of 31-year-old Patricia Jones of Capitol Heights discovered Saturday morning along 45th Street. An autopsy performed to find out the cause and manner of death. GOP frontrunner Donald Trump does not think Washington's football team needs to change its name. The outspoken billionaire tells the New York Times he agrees with rival Jeb Bush's support of the nickname. But Donald says a change should be up to the owner, and Indians are extremely proud of the name. Some Native Americans have said they're offended by the name and have fought to have it changed. Team owner Daniel Snyder is on record as saying he will never change the team's name. The Washington Wizards tip off their preseason tonight as they host the Philadelphia 76ers at Verizon Center starting at 7. It's the first of 7 games before the regular season opener October 28th against the Magic in Orlando. The Wizards making the NBA playoffs this past spring before being eliminated by the Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. This report brought to you in part by the American Association for Cancer Research. The American Association for Cancer Research, finding cures together. Please support cancer research by donating today at www.aacrfoundation.org. I'm Mike Fortier. When you're looking for news for Black America, go to news1.com.
Good morning, D.C. This traffic update brought to you by Formax. Inner loop of the Beltway at Georgia Avenue. We have a crash. It closes the ramp from the inner loop now to northbound Georgia. So starting to see delays as you make your approach. Outer loop stop and go from 95 to Georgia Avenue. Also jammed up now D.C. 295 southbound from Eastern to Pennsylvania. 301 northbound at Shortcut Road in Brandywine. Also a crash. Your delays begin from Mattawoman Beantown Road. Formax, hurry this week only. 50% off wood floors. Free financing until 2018. Hurry this week only. 50% off carpeting with free delivery and installation. Formax. This weather update brought to you by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Mothers Against Drunk Driving supports the victims of drunk driving, and underage drinking at no cost. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. Mostly sunny and pleasant today. Highs in the mid-70s. Tonight mostly cloudy. Lows in the upper 50s. Right now mostly clear. 51 degrees. I'm Tony Thornton for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Real Talk Radio in the AM.
The #1 morning show. #1 on everybody's list.
Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
Thank you for staying with us, folks. 24 away from the top of the hour with our guest, Sister Brenda Muhammad. She's a professor, college professor in real life. She's also a member of the Nation of Islam, and they're having an event for the sisters before the big event, the big rally this Saturday, the Justice or Else rally in Washington, D.C. Sister Brenda, I'm going to let you finish up what you were saying before we left for the news break.
Yes, sir. You know, I absolutely love the bullying advertisement that you all are running because it's about name calling, you know, separation, division. Any tactics or tools are used to separate the members of the human family. And we really have to be big enough to not feed into that. Some of the names were, you're fat, you're stupid, you stink, you're trash, you're no good. Well, you see, those labels have been assigned to most of the members of the human family. And then we begin to incorporate that way of thinking into our everyday communication process. And we become further and further divided. We must unite. We all are suffering. The masses of our people are suffering. There are a few of us who are doing well, but the masses are suffering. And so I say, Brother Carl, yeah, you know, one group said they were here first and the other group said they were here first, but guess what? We know who God brought here to the planet Earth. We know who the parents are. We know who the children are. And it's almost as though the children are rebelling against the parents. And whatever we have, that brother was right, whatever we have, they want. If we're in a certain community for years, they're not interested in it. But then they look up and find out that we really are living in the best parts of the city, closest to the Potomac, closest to downtown, closest to the historic sites, but we never had the money to fix our properties up. And when they look up, if we got it, here they come, they want it. So I just wanted to make that comment, sir.
All right. 800-450-7876. Go back out to Atlanta again on line 1. Ramon's waiting for us. Ramon, you're on with Sister Brenda. Is Ramon out there?
Yes. Good morning, Sister Brenda and Carl. How are you guys this morning?
Good morning.
Hey, I have a question, well, a comment more so than a question. At this particular stage of time in society, knowing that, like you said, on the planet, we're all the human family. And this thing about us being first, last, whatever, the thing is that there's a big injustice about the people of color on this planet. And us addressing issues right now, such as the Justice of F issue, I think it's time that we re-strategize our thinking and our approach to these issues as a human family. And the reason why I'm saying that, I think we need to stop throwing alarm clocks in graveyards. And what I mean by throwing alarm clocks in graveyards is to go into a military mindset as an approach like Sun Tzu or like Sister Harriet Tubman, and stop inviting the media to address when we address our issues. The reason why I say that, Carl made a valid point earlier that right now they're showing and promoting Christmas program. It might be a combatant to this issue of the economic stance that Brother Farrakhan is talking about. So if we don't take our issues to an underground mindset and start addressing our issues and not inviting the media into it to counteract when we set forth a plan, then I think we can gain a little bit more ground. And it is a human issue. I mean, the thing is that we've been brainwashed and bamboozled and hoodwinked into thinking that we are a minority when we are a majority. We may be a minority in this country as far as a people, but we've always been a majority on the planet. And when the suffrages across the world, when we see our people suffering the way they are, it's because of lack of the knowledge of self, and we have to re-strategize. We have to re-strategize by not allowing these people to come into our realm. And I mean by the media. I don't mean about the human family. Because when injustice is done to one, it's injustice to all. And so I think just as a particular approach, we just need to rethink and reverse engineer our people's thinking and try to get them to get off the taillight vision and start picking up books again. There was a reason why this system didn't want us to read and learn. Because when you know who you are, you're going to be weakened by this system. It's a system. It's emphatically a system. And I just think, and I just think that we just need to reapproach. I was going to come there this weekend. But then I said to myself, I said, you know what? Look at all, if we're going to re-strategize economically, like Martin Luther King said, he think he led his people to a burning house. And I think he meant that economically as well. But the fact of the matter that, look at all the black dollars that are going to be spent in D.C. again. We have to re-strategize thoughts. Maybe it could have been, I don't know, somewhere where there's more of a foundation of people that think like we do in order to change this system, that we could have held it in the form somewhere like that. But again, invite the media into it, because the media and the people who control the media, these people plan 10, 15 years out on things that they want to do from gentrification to health to economics to everything else. And we need to start thinking in that format and that manner.
Yes, sir. I agree with you so much. I believe that the majority of our people are conscious. We have awakened. The circumstances under which we live and the conditions have forced us to at least come alive. It's like the dry bones in the valley. At one time they were all just lying underground. And then they heard the truth. And once they heard the truth, they began to resurrect out of the ground and unite. And so I believe that is what's happening. That is the minister's vision. He wants people of color to unite. And as you said, we are the majority globally. And so, again, I have to go back to this landmass piece, because defining ourselves according to a particular piece of land is very similar to the boys standing on the corner defining and taking ownership of a corner that doesn't belong to them. Yeah, that we got to get away from that. We're bigger than that, and we have to get away from begging, crying, pleading, marching, begging, crying, pleading, marching. We have to get away from that. We are one of the largest consumer groups in the country. We have enough wealth compared to one of the seven. We rank seventh in terms of economic wealth. Why can't we come together? Just umbrella. Just pick one area and stick with that. And it doesn't matter if those who are around us are not doing it. Let us be the clean glass next to the dirty one. Let us be the example. Let us be the one that when our people decide that they want a glass of water to drink, that they will pick the clean glass. Not And so that is our position. I agree with you 100%.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ramon. Thanks for your call. 16 away from the top there. Sister Brenda, why do you think there's so much division amongst us? You know, we have Christian and Muslim. You know, we're all, as one of my callers says, we're all black people. We're all brothers and sisters under the skin. Why do you think we're so entrenched in our beliefs and you know, we just won't even listen to what the other side has to say. We won't even entertain a conversation because he's a Christian or because he's a Muslim or because he's from the South or he's from the North or, you know, that kind of issue that we have. And I'll let you respond to that on the other side because I hear my drummers rolling up telling us we got to take a quick break. But I want you to get your thoughts on that, Sister Brenda. 800-450-7876. You too can join the conversation with Sister Brenda from the Nation of Islam. Taking calls after the short break. It's the Big Show. Rolls on from 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Have lunch every Friday at 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. with Law, Money, and You right here on WOL 1450 AM. Law impacts every part of your life. Money is a part of your everyday life, and it's all about you. Every Friday, you will learn about the laws that will help you gain and protect your money while improving you and your family's life. It's all about you understanding how the law gives you asset protection to leave a legacy, improve your credit, your retirement plan, college funding, and everyday money management. The knowledge of the law and money is fun, but having it and using it wisely is even more fun. The fun starts every Friday right here on WOL, beginning at 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. with your hosts, Raymond Starks and attorney Marie Farrow. It's Law, Money, and You, a show designed with you in mind, so be sure to tune in this and every Friday at 12:30 p.m. right here on News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power. Don't miss this Friday's broadcast.
This is the sound of one person walking. This is another. Imagine the sound of more than 5 million footsteps, one for every American living with Alzheimer's disease. Now add in the millions more who feel its effects and think about the impact we make when we all walk together to put an end to Alzheimer's for good. Join the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's. Walk with us in D.C. on October 24th. Sign up today at alz.org/walk. That's alz.org/walk.
As I went through school, one giant question loomed over me. What did I want to be? But in order to know what I wanted to be, I had to first decide what I wanted to make. I wanted to make more. So I became a teacher. Now I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy, and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought, and unconventional methods common. I make material things less important, and little things like patience and kindness count. I make weekdays more exciting than weekends, and classrooms feel like anything but. I make things different, which is all I ever hoped for. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Did you know summer is the deadliest season on the roads for youth in the United States? Each May, youth across the country unite during Global Youth Traffic Safety Month to focus on preventing the leading cause of death for them and their peers, traffic-related crashes. Global Youth Traffic Safety Month empowers youth to lead traffic safety education projects to help protect teen drivers. Become a partner with National Organizations for Youth Safety today at NOYS.org.
Your voice can now be heard.
Y'all ready?
Yeah. With Carl Nelson weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Sister Brenda Muhammad from the Nation of Islam and the Nations of the Sisters in the Nation. They're going to have a rally on Thursday. We're going to talk about that women's rally for justice or else. It's a prelude to Saturday's big event in Washington, D.C. Sister Brenda, before we left for the break, I was asking you the question, and you know, the minister answered this. I think it's back in the 70s. He did a Savior's Day album. And those of you who can go back that far may be familiar with that. He talked about the brother from the South and the brother from the North. And he did it with all the different accents and the brothers from the different Caribbean countries. But why do you think there's so much division amongst us as black people? Whether we be from the South, from the North, from the West, or from the inner city, or just from Baltimore and D.C. We've got issues. Or you know, whether you're Christian or Muslim or you're Seventh-day Adventist. Why do you think there's so much deep division amongst us?
Well, you know, your audience is very familiar with the Willie Lynch theory and speech, and actually an application of the mistreatment of Black people in America. And so I think that worked for hundreds of years. The classes were identified, the colors were identified, the texture of one's hair, the fullness of one's nose, the thickness of one's mouth. All of that was identified and used as tools to separate us. And, of course, some of it was fear, and that same fear exists today with those who are afraid to be with the minister, support the minister when he says justice or else. But I believe that that's part of the foundation. I think also that as time went by, our beautiful sister, Sojourner Truth, she recognized it when she said that she could have freed more slaves if they had only known that they were slaves. And so that mentality of fear, as well as survival, has always been at the root of our thinking. Then if we want to, just kind of stroll through history again, D.W. Griffith, who in the 20s wrote The Birth of a Nation, and that was the beginning of the Ku Klux Klan as we know them today. And so fear, intimidation, not having economic independence, having to depend on the very people, their children, depend on their children for the sins of the parents who enslaved us. Fear, economic dependence, and then I think it reached a point where some of us agreed with our beloved sister, Fannie Lou Hamer, when she said at the 1963 Democratic Committee Convention, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so some of us grabbed the mantle and began to see the beauty in one another. We saw that having a full nose was not a negative thing. It's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a healthy thing. And so I think that's probably at the foundation. And in terms of religion, I would just have to say, Brother Paul, that, there could be 7 ways to get to God. And it doesn't matter which way you take, as long as you get there. And so we have allowed outsiders to come inside to tell us what to do and create confusion. And out of fear, we have institutionalized.
Right. And we've proven, at least we didn't prove it, but we've exposed that the Willie Lynch letter was a fake. Brother Amu Ampen, who teaches at Contra Costa College out in the Oakland area, nobody researched that and looked at it. He's a historian. He researched and found out that it was a fake. Being that as it may, if you read it, the Willie Lynch letter, it looks appealing and it looks like it was real and it sort of gives the answers to why we're so divided. But, on the real, we're still divided. And I'm just wondering if there's somebody else, is there a hidden hand here involved in keeping us divided or are we just being programmed that way?
Well, I think it's both. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan again says, who do you blame, the pot or the potter? Yes, our young people are on the street raising sand. Yes, they are killing each other. Yes, they are dropping out of school. But look at the educational system, and particularly our young boys. Our young boys are geniuses. When they're 6, 7, 8 years old, they're so full of life and creativity, they can't sit still because their minds are replicas of the computers. But the educators have not been trained to teach them how to identify, how to grow that kind of thinking. The educators have been taught a European method of teaching, which is lockstep. You take one step, you lock it in, and you stay there. But our young boys are just, they're just excited. They are scientists. They are educators. They are doctors and lawyers. But that light is put out by the time you're 10. And they wander for the rest of their lives in darkness and not having any skills. Of course, when the pot drops the drugs and the guns in the community and you have nothing to eat, what would you do? Is it right? No, it's not. But really, what would you and I do if we were in those circumstances? And so I have to answer that again with saying that the hidden hand is the pot who made the potter.
All right. 800-450-7876. We're 6 away from the top of the hour. Before I take another coffee, I got to get you, for those folks who are going to work in the early shift, Thursday's event. Tell us about Thursday's event.
Okay. Thank you, sir. The Women for Justice at ELS are having a rally on Thursday, October 8th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Plymouth Congregational Church. And we're coming together as women because we, too, have been the victims of injustices that have been inflicted against us. We had a forum on September 26th with Dr. Welding, Dr. Zarate, Sister Ayo Handy, and it was amazing the kind of pain that came out of that forum as a result of institutional and global racism. And so as women, we have a voice. We want to be heard. And so we will be having the rally again on Thursday, October 8th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Plymouth Congregational Church. And the speakers will be our beloved sister Tamika Mallory, our Native American sister, Sister Nahajida Longworth, Reverend Caroline Board, Sister E. Gail Anderson Holmes, myself, and some other very powerful sisters. And we would love for the women to come. And believe it or not, just as many men came to the September 26th forum, and you're welcome to come.
All right, and that's at Plymouth Church. That's 1225 W Street. That's Southeast D.C., and that's this Thursday, right?
Yeah, but this church is 5301 North Capitol Street, Northeast.
Oh, this is a different one. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is Plymouth Congregational. Reverend Hagler is the pastor. You know, he's an activist in the community. And the church is at 5301 North Capitol Northeast. It's free. It starts at 6. And we absolutely want to get with our sisters so that we can fall in love with each other all over again.
All right, folks, there you got it. 800-450-7876. Sister Brenda Muhammad, she's a college professor in real life, and in real life, too, is also a member of the Nation of Islam. Let's go to line 2. Mr. Lee's joined us from the Poconos at 3 minutes away from the top. Now, hang on a second, Mr. Lee, because we got to step aside for a traffic report. I'll let you pose your question or your comment to Sister Brenda on the other side. Folks, you too can get in on this dialogue. Reach out to us. It's real easy, very, very simple. Just dial us up at 800-450-7876. Again, that's 800-450-7876. Your calls after this traffic update on
Good morning, D.C. This update brought to you by SecureTransit.org. Coming through Brandywine Junction, very heavy now beginning from Mattawoman Beantown Road to 301. We have an accident off to the right shoulder, and it blocks the right lane on the ramp to northbound 301. That's causing massive delays there. D.C. 295, heavy southbound between Eastern Avenue and Pennsylvania, and the accident on the inner loop at Georgia blocks the ramp to northbound Georgia Avenue. It is our civic duty to help protect our country from terrorist attacks. If you see something, say something to the police or transit personnel available. Learn more at SecureTransit.org. This weather update brought to you by Unbound. Unbound sponsorship fights poverty by strengthening human connections and nurturing interdependency. That's just one way Unbound is different. Learn more at unbound.org. Mostly sunny and pleasant today, highs in the mid-70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the upper 50s. Right now, mostly clear. On the cool side, 51 degrees. I'm Tony Thornton for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
When the need arises for a funeral repast or a place to hold a memorial service for your loved one, call the New Horizon Hall of Elegance, located at 2209 Vernon Street, Mount Rainier, Maryland. They will take the worry out of you having to handle one more detail, giving you time to focus on family and friends. Call 301-277-5922 to find out more. That's 301-277-5922. That's the New Horizon Hall of Elegance, ready to serve you in your time of need.
This is a special news alert to consumers who owe back taxes to the IRS.
Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing during the decline in the U.S. economy, the Internal Revenue Service is now accepting reduced settlements from consumers on back taxes, resulting in back taxes reduced by thousands of dollars. An open phone line has been established by Federal Tax Relief for consumers to call and see if you qualify for this reduction. To ensure your financial stability during this decline in the economy, take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call 1-800-210-1493. That's 1-800-210-1493. If you owe back taxes to the IRS, there's no need to fear anymore. The IRS is now accepting reduced settlements from consumers, resulting in tax debts reduced by thousands of dollars. For your free information and to see if you qualify for your reduction, call the Federal Tax Relief Hotline, 1-800-210-1493, 1-800-210-1493. That's 1-800-210-1493.
As I went through school, one giant question loomed over me. What did I want to be? But in order to know what I wanted to be, I had to first decide what I wanted to make. I wanted to make more. So I became a teacher. Now I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy, and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought, and unconventional methods common. I make material things less important, and little things like patience and kindness count. I make weekdays more exciting than weekends, and classrooms feel like anything but. I make things different, which is all I ever hoped for. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
WOL Washington, WPRS HD2 Waldorf, WKYS HD2 Washington, WMMJ HD2 Bethesda, a Radio 1 station, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
Thank you for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Sister Brenda Muhammad. She's a college professor and also a member of the Nation of Islam, and they're having a rally this Thursday, a rally for justice or else. It's a prelude to the big rally on Saturday. 800-450-7876 to speak to Sister Brenda. As I mentioned, we're going over to the Poconos on line 2. Mr. Lee's waiting for us. Mr. Lee, you're on with Sister Brenda.
Hey, good morning. Good show as always. My question about division within the community, whatever we pick, I think it's not only in the context of the African American, but how Europe, not even measured racially, but just how that small section of Europe exploited the whole world, including the African Americans, the ones that was over here, the Indians divided them, China, everywhere they went, and how we fell for that, that psychological game that they use on race, whatever you want to call it. And the thing in terms of that Willie Lynch thing, that goes before we hit these shores, because the Africans put on that boat, our ancestors and stuff that were here, we got sold out by the Africans. If we was united, then we could have fought back, Europe. And in my opinion, and there's a question, what do you think about it? I always think of it like this. There's two ways of unifying people. You need a common thread on the outside, something greater that divides us so that you can gather together against it. Or you need somebody to rule, like a dictatorship with like a Shaka Khan, with force. And that's the thing that's kind of missing with us and stuff like that causes us to gravitate. And it's in the manifestation of it is the, how can I say, the single black females that we have now. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? That division within our own community, how we don't communicate with each other, disrespect each other, we're talking, and that whole division thing. And I think that another way against it is education, not through their schools, but we have to do like the Jewish community. From pre-K to college, educate our own, So if we send them off to school, we've got to be brainwashed from day one. What do you think about that?
Yes, sir. Well, I agree with what you said. We are divided as black members of the community. But we have taken on the identity of a group of people that is not like us. Bottom line. I mean, even though we are mean to each other, it's hard for us to forgive one another. Instinctively, we were born with a gift to love one another. And one thing that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said is that most family pain started in the family environment. It started in the house. The incest started in the house. The lying started in the house. The stealing started in the house. The deception started in the house. And then you and I took it out into the community. And once that happened, it took on a life of its own. And so we have made the decision that we don't want to be like ourselves, our natural God-given selves. We want to be like someone else. And as a result, we have adopted and embraced and implemented the characteristics of those people that are not like us. And yes, leadership is important, but leadership is within each and every one of us. We shouldn't have to look outside of ourselves to find a leader. Let's start within us. There is greatness in all of us. And one of the things that I ask my students, I ask them on the very first day, who are you? Tell me who you are. And none of them are able to tell me who they are. They can give me their name, the country that they're from, but they aren't able to tell me who they are. And so as Black people, we're suffering from the same thing. We don't know who we are. We absolutely don't know our history. We absolutely are not interested because we're so busy trying to copy other people. And so Dr. Weldon said that we can start very simply just by not throwing down trash on the ground. Or for those of us who came up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, we would stop and pick it up, even if it wasn't ours. Little things. Stop calling each other names. Stop belittling each other. Gossiping. Snitching. Let's just stop. That is not our nature. Our nature is one of God, one of peace. And so
And just to add real quick before I go, the one thing I give credit for the Muslim community, what they did, they produced Malcolm X. How they produced Malcolm X? They didn't look over the least of us. They went into prison. They went through to the cast out because there's a education with that cast out people. These people in Chicago shooting at us. If you could mold them and get them out, there's a fire within them that, you put it in the right direction, it changes things. And unlike the sellouts, I call them, that go to these schools, get these degrees, and say, me, myself, and I. And, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lee, calling us from the Poconos. And Brenda, Sister Brenda, he made a good point, and he says that the nation goes in and I won't say retrain, but changes individuals. And he mentioned Malcolm. There's not just Malcolm, but a lot of individuals that they institutionalize, and then they come out and they learn about Islam in prison or in jail, and they come out and they come out changed. But you got into it. You weren't incarcerated. You're a college educated woman. It's the difference there. Explain that.
Never smoked whiskey. Smoked drugs. Never drank whiskey. You're right. But I had misidentified who I was. Again, I believed that I was a woman from my breast down and not my shoulders up. All of my power was in my dome, the kingdom, in my head. And so when we're taught about the kingdom of God, we're talking about the elevation of our thought that starts within our mind. And so because of that, the brothers and sisters who are incarcerated, they now see who they are. Who are you, Black man? Who are you? And who are you, Black woman? You are the co-creator of God himself. He chose you for his creation to come into existence. Now, if we have been taught that as little girls, instead of taught how to dance and be frisky around company and twist and all of that, we would be in a much better condition than we are today. We wouldn't have so many single mothers, as the brother referred to. We would have made better choices. Not saying that we would have been perfect, because I'm not perfect. There is none perfect among us. But we would have thought differently if I believed that my womb WOMB, that God gave me was sacred. And if my father had watched over me like Mary, mother of Jesus, her father watched over her, he made sure she ate the proper foods, that she wasn't exposed to the negative elements. He took care of her. And look what she produced. Why can't we do the same thing? Why can't we?
But let me ask you this, Sister Brenda. There was a time when we did that. The black community was a unit. We looked out for each other. We looked out for each other's children. You know, we always did that. But some point along the line, we dropped the ball. What happened?
Yes, sir. Well, you know, once we were able to drink out of the white man's water fountain, we began to think that his ice was cold. And we believed it. I mean, it's almost like being children and being denied getting new shoes and new clothes, and then suddenly, you know, your parents take you into the department store and just pick out anything that you want. And that was to our detriment. That destroyed our basic foundation of unity, cooperative economics, and education. We were so much better off. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have equal rights and equal access, because we should. But we did much better when we worked together. It just happened. And you're right. When I was growing up, our house was the house that our family from the South came to move into until they got on their feet. You're right. When my grandparents left the South, my grandmother and grandfather and about 5 or 6 others in an old raggedy car couldn't stop alongside the road, but they came for a better way of life. And once they got here, those that were here who had a house or an apartment opened the door. But once we were able to make a little more money and we had access to the water fountains and the hotels and all of those other amenities, I stopped loving you. I don't want to be bothered with you anymore. And so a lot of it, as the minister said, starts in the family. Our children observe that kind of behavior. And then we take it out into the community, and it takes on a life of its own. That's what
so why does it happen to us, though? Why don't other groups have that illusion of inclusion? The Hispanics, they do their own thing. They're not trying to sit next to a white person, or the Asians, and none of these other groups. So why is it just us?
I think that we have been the most belittled, hated, and despised among all the members of the human family. I think that even though the Native Americans were decimated, they were never as hated as we are. And then, of course, black men, young black boys, as Dr. Weldon says, has the potential to eliminate the color white. Well, now, if that were me, and you could eliminate my ethnicity from the planet Earth, I think I would hate you too. And so we're supposed to leave this stop.
Right, hold that thought right there, Sister Brenda. I'll let you finish on the other side. We got a bunch of folks who want to speak to you as well. You too can join our dialogue, folks. Reach out to us. It's really easy. We're at 800-450-7876. Again, that's 800-450-7876. We'll take your phone calls after this traffic and weather report on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Good morning, Washington, D.C. This update brought to you by the American Association for Cancer Research. The accident, Brandywine Junction, 301 northbound at Shortcut Road, now moved off to the right shoulder, but still blocking that right lane to the ramp to northbound 301. Your delays begin from Substation Road. BW Parkway, slow southbound from 202 to Eastern, as well as the outer loop heavy now from 95 as you make your way in toward Georgia Avenue. The American Association for Cancer Research, finding cures together. Please support cancer research by donating today at www.aacrfoundation.org. This weather update is brought to you by Compassion International. Compassion International releases children from poverty every day through sponsors like you. Find out how at compassion.com/radio. Mostly sunny skies expected today and pleasant, highs in the mid-70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the upper 50s. Right now, mostly clear, on the cool side, 51 degrees. I'm Tony Thornton for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Moving today or tomorrow and not sure who to call? Well, your worries are over. Ted's Moving and Hauling at 301-254-8221 is your one-stop place to call when you need to move from your apartment, home, or office. Ted's Moving and Hauling is one of the best, with experience and professional movers to handle all your needs with no job too large or too small. Ted's can do it all. Call now to find out more. 301-254-8221. That's 301-254-8221. Need something hauled away? Ted can do that too. Ted's Moving and Hauling is one of the best, and with some of the best prices in town. So, if you need to move uptown, downtown, or out of town, call Ted's Moving and Hauling today at 301-254-8221. That's 301-254-8221. That's Ted's Moving and Hauling. Moving you from your home, office, or church. Call Ted's today at 301-254-8221.
Those of us who were around in the 50s and 60s struggling, many of us have gotten tired, and we let the enemy have his way. Well, I did my best, they'll say, and you all take it now. I'm just going to sit down and relax or retire. I have never seen a lion retire from being a lion. I may not bite as hard as I used to, but I can still bite.
Don't miss the Farrakhan Speaks broadcast this and every Sunday at 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. right here on WOL 1450 AM, where information is power. That's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on the air this Sunday at 8 a.m. If you missed last Sunday's message, you have to hear him this Sunday. Don't miss it.
Real Talk Radio in the AM. Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And like he was saying with us, and I guess Sister Brenda Muhammad, Sister Brenda in the Washington, D.C. area, and they're having an event before the big rally on Saturday. On Thursday, it's a women's rally for justice or else. We'll get into that in a moment. But Sister Brenda, I'm going to let you finish up what you were saying before we left for the traffic report.
You know, I believe that as Black people that we absolutely are in love with each other. I do. I believe that at our core, we love each other. But as the minister said, you know, all family relationships, the pain, the suffering happened in the house. And as women, when we saw our sisters, our aunts and our nieces being violated, being beaten, being abused, and had an opportunity to console her, even if we couldn't save her, we chose not to. You know, we might have agreed with the abuser for favoritism or whatever. Or in the cases of our men, growing up in the house with brothers, depending on who's the oldest, you know, what rank you fell into, having arguments, and really being so enraged that you're willing to hurt each other. Those are things that we don't forget, Carl. Those are things that we carry for the rest of our lives. Those are the things that we transfer into the streets. And so now I'm a cold-blooded man or woman, and I can hurt you. I can harm you and not feel a thing. And all of it can be resolved if we would just admit that I was wrong. I'm sorry. Go to the person and tell that person that I'm sorry. But what we do, we walk around, we come to family reunions and dinners and birthdays and grandma's celebrations, pretending as though we never offended each other. And so it causes the pain to grow. And then the pain turns into anger. And once it becomes anger, anything is possible. But we have the capability and the authority to go to our brother and sister and apologize to them. Not just say, I apologize. You say, I'm sorry. You follow the 8 steps of atonement. And the first one is to point out the difficulty. Okay, Brother Carl, tell me what I did wrong to you. Don't hold it. Tell me. But then I have to be strong enough and so much in love with God, in love with myself, and in love with you that I have to admit and say, you know what? You're right. You're so right. But I was a different person then. I didn't know any better. I copied what I learned in the house, in the streets, in my church, in my community, in my school. Once I admit, and then I have to repent. I just can't say to you, Brother Carl, you know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. What act of kindness will follow up? Come on, people, we have to do it. Once we begin to heal, then we don't mind Aunt Lou and Cousin So and Uncle Joe and Aunt May. We don't mind them coming into our houses when they need help. We don't mind taking them in because we remember the day when they were really good aunts and uncles and cousins and sisters and brothers. And so the love is there. But it's us that's holding it up, me and you, because we will not face the truth about our fault. And so I believe that with our other brothers and sisters, they've already said, listen, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it, man, but I need your help. And help comes. It's just that simple, you know. And so I have to go back to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says. He says that the black man is like a lion pacing back and forth in a cave. The cave, the door is locked. All he needs to do is figure out how to get out of it. And that's the hardest thing in the world for us to do. And then those of us who have figured it out won't help the rest of us, like that brother said, won't help the least of these. So that's my position.
All right, 800-450-7876. We're 20 minutes after the hour. Let's go to line 2. Erica's traveling somewhere on the roads going through Alabama. Erica, you're on with Sister Brenda.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum to my sister.
Walaikum salam, beloved.
And this is such a powerful conversation this morning. I tell you, it's just amazing. I do want to make a fact about separation. And in the Bible, from the very beginning, when God created Adam and Eve, here comes the slithering snake that separated them and had Eve to believe that, you know, taking on the forbidden fruit would make her, you know, open her eyes. So right there was the first division because he got Eve away from Adam to just embrace a different teaching. And then further in the Bible, another serious division was when Sarah and Abraham had Isaac. Then she wanted, you know, the other woman to have the other baby. And then when she got jealous, she separated that family. Had the other, I apologize, I can't remember Ishmael's mother, but her name. But, you know, there was a separation there. Yes.
It was Hagar. That's true. That's true. And it still exists today.
Right, and that's how, so just transcending that type of separation, this single mother then had to fend for her own and with her child and things like that. And then now with slavery, one of the first things they do when they, were bringing the slaves over, they separated the husbands from the wives and the children from the parents. And they beat them into submission. And my understanding is what were they, and for them to beat them so severely, what was it that they wanted them to forget? All of what was taught in Africa, the principles of Ma'at and the powers of God and all the information that they had, they beat them for years, and they killed them, savagely killed them in Africa. I don't really believe the theory that other Africans sold out other Africans. I've heard that theory. I don't personally believe it. But if they're killing them, they probably said, look, take them. I'll work with you, but don't take us. But as far as just Africans selling out Africans, I'm not even embracing that. But
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I do believe that, for the reason that they beat us and killed us so savagely was because of the principles of life that we knew it to be in Africa from the very beginning. And they've been beating us and separating us. The same process has went on for eons. And just the other comment I wanted to make, my husband, he did go to the Millionaire March back, 20 years ago. He's not going to be able to attend this year.
Wow.
But he was concerned he was concerned about justice for all, not understanding what all the all was. Now, this morning, you very eloquently explained about the financial for all. And, if we pull back our finances, that, we could break down the whole economy. And this is the first time I've heard that. So I'm embracing that because at first we weren't sure what the justice for all was. And, But now that you explained it, yes, we definitely need to bring down the walls come Black Friday and the Christmas holiday and the Thanksgiving and all of that. We definitely need to let's rally together and not embrace that so that they can see the power is in our finances.
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me say this. If you get a chance, go to YouTube and pull up the video by Minister Farrakhan. It is the Justice or Else promotional public service announcement. That tells you in less than 8 minutes what the Justice or Else movement is all about. And again,
hold that thought right there, Sister Brenda, because we got to step aside for a couple of announcements. Erica, please drive safely out there through Alabama. And also, Brother Richard Muhammad is going to join us as well. 800-450-7876. You too can get in on this dialogue with Sister Brenda Muhammad. Take your calls after this short break on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
For over 75 years, Geico's been about consistency, as in we've consistently helped people save money on their car insurance. And to prove it, we'll air one of our first radio commercials from over 75 years ago.
At Geico, we're all about consistency, as in we consistently help people save money on their car insurance. To prove it, you can call Geico. Call us today, call us tomorrow, call us 75 years from now.
That was way more consistent than I expected.
Geico, saving people money for over 75 years.
To the insurance company that did me wrong. I've moved on and am happily insured with another. Bless your pea-picking heart. It was just never meant to be betwixt us. You gave me automobile insurance apprehension, and Geico has come along and in just 15 minutes given me new car insurance and made me as jubilant as a newborn lamb in springtime. And Pa has given Geico his approval. That's one thing you never had. Joyful with another. Clara May in Columbia.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This is Barbara Arnwine. Be sure to tune in to Igniting Change every Tuesday from noon to 1 on WOL 1450 AM. I will provide provocative and empowering information to ignite change and inspire action in achieving racial justice and equality. It really is up to all of us to be and to ignite the change that we so desperately want to see in our neighborhoods, communities, our cities, our states, our nation, and the world. Each week, I want you to join me and my special guests to learn how your activism matters in realizing a more just and equal society for all. Ignite change with me every Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. Together, we can make a difference. Visit barbaraarnwine.com for more information. Stand up.
Real talk radio in the AM.
The #1 morning show. #1 on everybody list.
Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. I guess it's Brenda Muhammad from the Nation of Islam, and also Brother Richard Muhammad is joining us. We were just speaking with Sister Erica, who's driving somewhere in Alabama, and she said that she mentioned that she didn't buy the fact that we sold each other out, or we sold, back in Africa. And Brother Renoka Rashidi, listening to us in the City of Lights in Paris. He'll be here with us on Monday, and he says that's not true. So he and he's a historian and researcher, and he says he's found nothing to collaborate that we sold each other out. But anyway, I'm gonna let Sister Brenda finish what she's saying.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, and assalamu alaikum, Brother Richard. Good to hear from you. But yeah, Justice or Else, please go to the website, justiceorelse.com. All of your questions will be answered. Why the movement? It is not a march. It is a movement. And the most important day, of course, is the day of and the day after. And that is why it's so important that the women begin to organize around those issues of injustices that has been inflicted against us. But going back to the sister when she talked about Adam and Eve, God created Adam and Eve, and she's absolutely correct. And the different religions, that was the first separation of the religion. Well, of course, the thing that distinguishes us from animals is that we're able to make choice. And so whatever Eve did or whatever Adam did, they both chose to do that. And that was a gift from God and a gift to us to be able to choose. But the tragedy is that ever since then, women have been charged all around the world as the great perpetrator of sin, of wrongdoing. And I think that too has contributed to our demise and disrespect among men and other cultures in the world. And so I know that she's correct. You know, when we're coming up through slavery, we were being killed, we were being murdered, everything was happening to us. But have we learned a lesson? Because we're still doing the same thing. You know, not a whole lot has changed. And in terms of, you know, those of us who now say, well, you know, if I had been in slavery, I would have stood for it. Well, you're standing for it now. You don't stand with justice or else. And so you're standing for the very same treatment now that was inflicted against us then. What's the difference? There is no difference, you know, and it's only when we realize the power that God has given each of us, none any better, greater, smarter, but each equally gifted and talented. And so my talent might be at one of a shoestring tire. I could be the best shoestring tire in the city. But because I don't see the value in it, I began to look to you, Brother Carl, with your gifts and your talents and begin to admire you. And we know that once admiration sets in, sometimes jealousy follows and then envy sets in. And once envy gets in there, murder is on the horizon. And so I do believe that we have the collective economic strength to shut it down. That's what the minister is calling for. He will go into more details on October 10th. But the power is ours. The choice has always been ours. What we do, say to each other, has always been ours. And so, yeah, you know, the potter is responsible, but we really have to take some responsibility ourselves. That's my position.
800-450-7876, 29 away from the top of the hour. Brother Richard Muhammad, the executive editor, Nation of Islam, joins us. Brother Richard, you heard the caller. I'm not sure if you heard when the caller from Alabama, she's driving somewhere in Alabama, and she did not fully understand the phrase of the theme, I should say, of the gathering on Saturday. Can you expound on that for us?
Well, assalamu alaikum, Carl, Sister Brenda, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me on. I think that we as a people, we have to consider a couple things. And one of the fundamental things we always have to consider when we get information, when we hear something, is what's the source. There's an old saying, consider the source, because the source of your information, they're motivated to speak in certain ways based on whatever their interest is. And so the enemy has continually, since the minister started talking about Justice Sorrell, he has continually tried to twist that into something other than what it is. What the minister said, and I think that people who have heard him understand, because I've been in cities across the country, and I've seen audiences respond. And I've seen him in interviews, and I've heard people respond. Justice Sorrell. Well, there comes a time in the life of many people when they have to stand up against tyranny. And as the minister said in Miami, that if the federal government, and he said this in other places, will not stand up and protect our lives and do its duty, are we just to continue to lay down in the street and let people slaughter us? Am I supposed to let someone just slaughter my wife, slaughter my grandmother, slaughter my children, slaughter my grandchildren? And a system of justice never does anything to punish the perpetrator? Every killing, every shooting is justified. Every one of our deaths is exonerated, no matter what the circumstance, no matter what the DNA evidence, no matter what the video, no matter what the witnesses say, no matter how many times, no matter how many bullets are pumped into a black body, like 7 or 8 bullets pumped into the body of Mike Brown, in an incident that started supposedly over the fact that he was jaywalking, but he ends up dead. A little brother in California recently crosses the street. He ends up dead. I saw something the other day where a woman said she just asked the police officers, I think also in California, what was going on because she heard a car alarm going off. The police officer asked her, well, is this your effing car? Well, if not, just keep it moving. And when she basically said, wait, you don't have to talk to me like that, next thing you know, he stops her and pulled and they throw this woman to the ground and beat her. So the minister's not calling for violence. He's not calling for us to attack anyone. But he is saying that we have to reserve the right to protect ourselves. That's a God-given right. That's a human right. The Nation of Islam does not have a history of attacking people. It does not have a history of leading attacks on people. As a matter of fact, the history of the Nation of Islam is us being attacked by the police in our own mosques and even out on the street. Or even when we went into Mayfair Mansion in the 1990s to help stem violence that we did not create, the problem that we ran into, one of the major problems, was problems with the D.C. Police Department at that time, in terms of officers drawing their guns on the men in the FOI that came in to do a job that the police should have done. So we are not calling for any type of violence, but we are saying, brothers and sisters, look, we have a God-given right to life, and we cannot just allow our lives to be taken. So the minister is going to talk more about that on October 10th, as well as the fact this idea and this concept of economic withdrawal, this idea of spreading the pain, this idea of harnessing our unity. And the minister has said that if we harness our unity, if we decide collectively that enough is enough, then we don't have to worry about any of these other issues that people are so concerned about. But I want us to consider this, Carl. You look at the Bundy Ranch out in Nevada. Now, these Caucasian people showed up with weapons. These Caucasian people took up sniper positions over top of federal police forces. They kicked dogs. They fought the police officers. Did one of those people get shot by federal law enforcement? Absolutely not one. The worst they did was that somebody got tased. So to me, it's when we just declare that our lives are valuable, that we have a right to life. People get so afraid the Caucasian people are going around here threatening.
Right. Hold that thought, Brother Richard, and stay with us, Sister Brenda, because we've got to step aside for a news update. Folks, you too can join our conversation with our guests. To reach out to us at 800-450-7876. We'll take your phone calls after this news report on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Good morning, I'm Mike Fortier. Here's the latest from News1.com, brought to you in part by the Foundation for a Better Life. Winston Churchill's words stirred his country in the face of defeat. Today they inspire us to reach for our own victories. Commitment, pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. The cleaning up continues in Ocean City after a weekend of heavy rain and strong winds lead to flooding. The inlet, parking lot, and beach now reopened, although people are being asked to avoid areas where public works crews are cleaning. Due to strong rip currents, beachgoers are reminded they should not swim in the ocean. Officials say due to the preparedness of residents and the hard work of employees and allied agencies, the Ocean City community experienced 0 storm-related injuries and minimal citywide damage. Poll numbers for Maryland Governor Larry Hogan are soaring. A new Goucher College survey finds Hogan has a 54% favorability rating, up 21 points from February.
Larry Hogan has single-handedly changed public perception of the Republican Party in Maryland.
Anne Arundel County Republican Executive Mike Shue notes the numbers are striking because more than half of the Democrats surveyed said they approve of the job Hogan is doing. A man is dead after a shooting at a gas station happening last night in Forestville at a BP station on Walters Lane. Prince George's County Police say a man walked into the station and shot the man and then ran off. The victim taken to a hospital where he dies. A police officer being credited with saving a baby's life. Happening Sunday afternoon in Gaithersburg on I-270. Montgomery County Police Officer James Herman pulls over a driver when another driver pulls up behind his cruiser. A man and a woman run to the officer while carrying a 9-month-old girl who is unresponsive. Officer Herman performs CPR until the child regains consciousness. A rescue crew takes the child to the hospital where officials say she's doing better. This report brought to you in part by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Mothers Against Drunk Driving supports the victims of drunk driving, drugged driving, and underage drinking at no cost. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. I'm Mike 40 when you're looking for news for Black America. Go to news1.com.
Good morning, D.C. This update brought to you by True Car. D.C. 295, still very heavy now southbound just after Eastern Avenue as you make your way to Pennsylvania Avenue. Crash on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway northbound at 450. It's off to the left lane. Your delays start from 202 southbound, also slow from 450 to Eastern. Inbound on Pennsylvania Avenue, also sluggish through Upper Marlboro between Old Crane Highway and Dower House Road. True Car is the fun way to buy a new car and make sure you never overpay. True Car users save an average of over $3,000 off MSRP. Save time, save money, and never overpay. Download the True Car app today. This weather update brought to you by Unbound. At Unbound, they believe in the potential of an educated child to change the life of her family, her community, and our world. Learn more at unbound.org. Today, mostly sunny and pleasant. Highs in the mid-70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Lows in the upper 50s. Right now, mostly sunny. On the cool side, 51 degrees. I'm Tony Thornton for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Your voice can now be heard.
Y'all ready?
Yeah. With Carl Nelson weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. We're 20 minutes away from the top of the hour. And we're our guest, Sister Brenda Muhammad, and also Brother Richard Muhammad, talking about the Justice or Else rally, the one on Saturday, and also the one for the women's rally. It's going to take place on Thursday. Before we take some calls, let's let Brother Richard finish up what he was saying before we left for the news. Brother Richard?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Carl. My point was, we had seen at the Bundy Ranch in Nevada, where whites have declared and asserted their rights with weapons, going up against federal officers, and the federal government turned around and left. These people were not called criminals. They were not called extremists by Fox News, one of the leading sources of information in the country. They were hailed as heroes and patriots by Fox News and members of the U.S. Congress and other leaders around the country. As a matter of fact, some sworn law enforcement officers that were white literally came to Nevada to support these armed Caucasians. So the minister is not calling for us to bring weapons. He has said very clearly, do not bring weapons to the National Mall. And first of all, we don't need them. And second of all, we can't compete with this enemy on that level. But he has said, and as Dr. King said, there is a moral arc in the universe and it bends toward justice. And as the Bible says, as a man sows, the same shall he reap. And I think we have to really ask ourselves the question, that if America has been so wicked in her doings to us in particular, so wicked in her doings in the genocide against Native Americans, will America eventually have to pay for her crimes? And the ultimate judge and the one who will strike her is Almighty God himself. And this is just not some hyperbole, but absolute truth, and you will be able to hear more from the minister this coming Saturday.
All right. A bunch of folks want to speak to you guys. 800-450-7876. Let's start with line one. Lawrence in Arlington, Texas. Lawrence, your questions for Sister Brenda or Brother Richard?
Good morning. Good morning, my brothers. Good morning, Brother Richard.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, Brother Richard. Come on, brother. Do not call this pro-black man, sir. I am a black man. I am a warrior. Call me brother. Please, don't call me sir. I have that's one of my things. I'm from up north. I'm from the hood. I'm a black man. I'm a warrior. Call me brother. Don't call me sir. You know, I earn my money. I'm a fighter. You know, I am your brother. But here's the point that I wanted to make to you. I have thought about this issue, why black people in America can't get along, black people all over the diaspora can't get along. And I have wrestled with this basically ever since I was in elementary, and I'm 58 years old. I'm a black Christian nationalist by faith. Shrines of the Black Madonna, that's my home. That's in my heart. I'm a Maccabee. That's part of the security force. So I embrace the same principles and philosophy as the Fruit of Islam. I don't have no problem with the teachings of Minister Farrakhan, but I will say this. to my black brothers. We as black people, this is ingrained in our DNA. I've communicated and interacted with brothers from Africa, different parts of Africa, for the last 15 years, gotten to know them intimately, and I've questioned them about their faith, their upbringing, how they live in Africa, the motherland. And I'm going to tell you this. This is the conclusion that I've came to. And like I said, I've wrestled with this ever since I was a kid. Why black people hate each other, why we can't love each other. And it's deep. And I go back to saying this. When the white man brought us over here as slaves, he went all over the continent, bringing black people from the continent over here and forcing us there to breed like cattle. He bred us like cattle. A lot of people were not meant to intermix. You don't see the Koreans intermixing willingly with the Japanese and so forth. You know, we were denied that right to be who we are. You know, because all over Africa, black people think different. All black people in Africa don't think alike. We were forced to intermix with each other when they brought us over here. And we are the descendants of ancestors who didn't mix with each other, who were separated.
Right. Lawrence, do us a favor, because a bunch of folks want to speak to Sister Brenda and Brother Richard. So can you put in a question for them so they can respond?
Okay, so the question is this. If that is a fact, which can't be denied, isn't it much deeper? Isn't it more to a point of good and evil? Some people are just evil. Some people don't want to be brothers and sisters. Isn't it time for black people to accept the fact that some black people are just evil to the core, just like there are some white brothers and sisters who are not evil, who can understand our plight and don't have no beef with us, you know?
All right, let's give him a chance to respond to that. You set that up. Thanks, Lawrence. Thanks for your call. Sister Brenda or Brother Richard, any of you want to tackle that response from Lawrence?
I think there's a scripture in the Bible that comes to mind, something of a parable, and it says that when you look at a pot, and when a pot is shaped a certain way, you don't blame the clay, you blame the potter. So the question is, who has formed us? Who has taught us, or who has mistaught us? Who taught us to hate ourselves, and who bred us for hundreds of years? Who taught us that we are all different, and since we are all different, somehow or another we're enemies of one another? We as black people are not enemies of one another. We're brothers and sisters of one another. And we have to come to that understanding. But the reality is we need a new teacher, a different teacher than the one that put us in this condition. Our oppressors are never going to teach us who we truly are. They're never going to give us the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding that would allow us to free ourselves from their grip. Do we have problems with one another? Absolutely. Do we mistreat one another? Absolutely. That's why the minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is calling for 10,000 fearless men to go into the black communities and to end the fratricidal violence that we face among each other. But the question was, who taught Malcolm Little? Who made Malcolm Little into a pimp, a hustler, and all these ugly and negative things? And then who taught and made Malcolm this? It was the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that turned Malcolm's life around. But that's not a story from yesterday. That's a story from today, where men and women and young men and older men are being affected daily by a word, a message, and the understanding of themselves and the knowledge of the time and what we have to do for ourselves. Are there some Caucasians that we can coalesce with? Absolutely. If they reject white supremacy, this is why Justice or Else is open to all who have suffered grievances under a government that is controlled by a few who exploit the men. But at the same 800-450-7876. As mentioned, a lot of folks want to speak to Sister Brenda and Brother Richard. Let's go to line 3. Tamron in D.C. Tamron?
Oh, much love and respect, Carl. Much love and respect, Miss Brenda.
I tell you what, hang on a second, Tamara. We got to step aside for a couple of now, so I'll let you pose your question for Sister Brenda or Brother Richard on the other side. Folks, you two can get in on this dialogue, talking about the the rally, Justice or Else, the women's rally on Thursday and the big rally on Saturday. Your call's next on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
What's wrong, Tina? Where are you coming from?
I am just coming from the dealership getting my Mercedes-Benz service. Do you know it cost me $500?
$500? Girl, you should have gone to Magic Benz in Hyattsville. Their A services are only $250 and B services start at just $250. They are my premier specialists and have up to 40% off dealer prices and 100% satisfaction guarantee.
But how did I miss this?
But there's more. They offer professional services, tire replacement, balance and rotation, engine cooling system flush, body work for all Mercedes, and more. Their oil changes are only $99.
Michelle, say no more. What's their info?
It's Magic Benz at 4716 Baltimore Avenue, Hyattsville, Maryland. Their number is 301-985-2676, or go to their website at magicbenzservice.com. Thank me later.
No, I am thanking you now.
Those of us who were around in the 50s and 60s struggling, many of us have gotten tired, and we let the enemy have his way. Well, I did my best, they'll say, and you all take it now. I'm just going to sit down and relax or retire. I have never seen a lion retire from being a lion. I may not bite as hard as I used to, but I can still bite.
Don't miss the Farrakhan Speaks broadcast this and every Sunday at 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. right here on WOL 1450 a.m., where information is power. That's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on the air this Sunday at 8 a.m. If you missed last Sunday's message, you have to hear him this Sunday. Don't miss it.
As I went through school, one giant question loomed over me. What did I want to be? But in order to know what I wanted to be, I had to first decide what I wanted to make. I wanted to make more. So I became a teacher. Now I make learning a privilege, not a chore. And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy, and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought, and unconventional methods common. I make material things less important, and little things like patience and kindness count. I make weekdays more exciting than weekends, and classrooms feel like anything but. I make things different, which is all I ever hoped for. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Real Talk Radio in the AM. Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. 9 away from the top of the hour with Sister Brenda and also Brother Richard. Let's go back to Tamara on line 3 in D.C. Tamara, your question for our guest.
Oh, man, I was listening to y'all. This is an enjoyable show to me today. And the reason why I want to say that is because a lot of your callers calling in, man, they on point, brother. I mean, they learning the story of life from your from your show. Sis, I just want to ask, make a comment and ask a question about this division amongst black people. Sister, can you agree with me or disagree with me on this one? The lady called in and said that the division came all the way from that serpent. And I say the serpent told the truth. The serpent said, hey, man, you ain't going to die. Your eyes going to open up. And that's exactly what happened. You're going to become little gods. And that's exactly what happened to them. And she said the division went all the way from Adam all the way up. But we older than Adam. We got the things. That's not us. Just like Abraham. We had the pyramids. And then Abraham came down, selling his wife and doing all kinds of, and his family just started just killing and slaughtering and murdering people. Just like with Moses. Just like the gentleman called in and said, man, look at the viciousness that they're doing to our people. But Moses killed the parents, the people that knew men. When they took the Mennonites, right? They killed the parents and kept the little virgin females for themselves. So what are you going to do? You're going to teach them how to what? Kill your own people. But see, my question is right here, sister. The division got to be, this. Listen to me, please. The division has to be, sister, before Abraham and Adam, our black men loved our black women. We had gods and goddesses ruling the whole world, pyramids on every major continent except for Europe. And you got to admit, once Abraham came into play, spirituality, the black woman was subverted into submissiveness. Look what happened to Hagar.
Timra, put in a question form for us. We got a bunch of folks. We're racing the clock. So put in a question form for Sister Brenda.
It's not Abraham, the true core division. The three books, Islamic, Judaism, Christianity belief, and does not these books say the wars and murders that they did in your land to divide you? And it's happening.
I'll give you a chance to respond. Thanks, Timra. Sister Brenda, you want to respond to what he just said?
Yes, sir. You know, the brother has a point, and that is exactly one of the reasons why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called for the 1995 Million Man March, a holy day of atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility. Because the black man had been portrayed around the world as being something of evil, something of dirt, something that was no good, a robber, a killer, a murderer. And so the minister saw the need for black men, who was the one that he was talking to unite. And look what happened when we united, when you united. Black men went back home, and over 1 million of them registered to vote, and they elected Bill Clinton. There were 25,000 of our children in adoption. And these black men united and went home and got their children. Many of them even sucked in their pride because of the differences that existed between their children's mother. They reunited. That black men took more responsibility at that point in time than ever before. However, that was not in the best interest of this country. And so shortly thereafter, more drugs, more guns, more poverty, more illnesses, more diseases were dropped into the community on our people. And so all of that has contributed to division. But at the end of the day, the difference between you and me and Brother Carl and Brother Richard is that we're able to make a choice. And what was yesterday does not have to be what it is today. We choose to remain disunited because of the pain and suffering that we have heaped on one another. Because of, as the minister said, the things that we did to one another in the home. All family problems, he said, started inside of the home, and then we took them out. And we have yet to atone, to apologize, to say, I'm sorry, for what I did. And until we start there, we will always complain about not being united. Let's start there. Let's also pull out dollars and nickels and dimes and economically create such an impact on this government until they will have to give us justice. But, brother, I'm telling you, it starts with us, and it's all within.
All right, 800-450-7876. We're 3 away from the top of the hour. Pardon me. Let's go to line 4. Don is joining us from D.C. Don, you're on with Sister Brenda and Brother Richard.
Yes. Good morning, y'all. I attended the last Million Man March, and it was the subject was taken out of Surah 19, and go make amends with your family. So well, of course, I'm just going to say Bill Clinton, he put a lot of us in jail, and plus the money he's supposed to send to Haiti. I don't know what happened to that. But what was the relationship that Minister Farrakhan, I want to ask you, was with Ron Hubbard and the of the Dianetics? He is dead. And why didn't Farrakhan let the attorney Arthur Maddox and Steve Cobley speak at the Million Man March? And we should have had a boycott back then, but it was too early because it wasn't close to Christmas, and we should have had some kind of boycott. And I won't be selfish. I'll just make my little statement there and take it off air. You enjoy your day.
All right. Anybody want to attack those questions from Don? Hold the response there, because we have a traffic report coming out. I'll let you guys respond on the other side. Folks, you two can join our conversation. And also, Dr. Hemprey is going to join us. He's an Egyptian American, and he's fighting to be declared classified as a black man in America. You two getting on all these calls at 800-450-7876. We'll take your calls after the traffic report on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Good morning, D.C. This traffic update brought to you by Stanley Martin Homes. We'll start with the accident. Suitland Parkway inbound at Stanton Road. It takes up the left lane. It's going to be very slow through that stretch, as well as inbound through Temple Hills between Naylor Road and South Capitol Street. Pennsylvania Avenue, stop and go inbound from Old Crane Highway to Dower House Road. Crash on the BW Parkway northbound at 450 blocks the left lane in Riverdale. Stanley Martin's move in ready homes are brand new and offer all of the advantages of a new home without the wait. Settle before the end of the year and receive the premium moving package. Visit StanleyMartin.com EHO. This weather update brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council. As a parent, you can't help but dream about what the future holds for your child, but consider this. The odds that your child will be diagnosed with autism are 1 in 68. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org. Mostly sunny and pleasant today. Highs in the mid-70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Lows in the upper 50s. Right now, mostly sunny. On the cool side, 51 degrees. I'm Tony Thornton for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This is the sound of one person walking. This is another. Imagine the sound of more than 5 million footsteps, one for every American living with Alzheimer's disease. Now add in the millions more who feel its effects, and think about the impact we make when we all walk together to put an end to Alzheimer's for good. Join the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's. Walk with us in D.C. on October 24th. Sign up today at alz.org/walk. That's alz.org/walk.
A new talk show titled Let's Talk Seasoned Fitness airs on Tuesday from 10 until 10:30 a.m. on WOL 1450. What is seasoned fitness? It's senior fitness with a twist. Just as food is seasoned with spices to enhance flavor, we will talk about ways to enhance our quality of life as we age. There is much more, but you have to listen in every Tuesday from 10 until 10:30 a.m. on WOL 1450, where information is power. Let's talk seasoned fitness.
I can make an impact in the world. As young people think that we can't make a difference, but not only we can make a difference, but sometimes we can make the biggest difference.
We wanted to be the doers and we wanted to be the changers.
You just have to find something that you're passionate about and use your talents and your abilities to volunteer.
Volunteering doesn't have to be a chore.
It really is a reward in itself.
It helps you get farther in life.
There is no better feeling than helping somebody else.
You could see one person smile, you could tell they needed that smile, and it could really change and open up your heart to new things.
A lot of things are really competitive about individual achievement. Volunteering is a way to take a step back from that.
See a need, gather friends, and change the world.
Changing someone's world.
It happens now. This is the time. And this is when you learn, so why not start?
Are you a young volunteer making a difference? Apply for the Prudential Spirit of Community Award. Visit spirit.prudential.com.
Hi, this is Top Chef All-Star Mike Isabella. If you're one of the 15 million Americans with food allergies, you might feel anxious about dining out. But you don't have to be. You just need a game plan. And you can find one online at safefare.org. SafeFare.org is loaded with information and resources to help you enjoy a safer restaurant experience, including sample questions, tips, and a lot more. Visit SafeFare.org. That's SAFEFARE.org, because when it comes to managing food allergies, we're all on the same team.
A public service message from Food Allergy Research and Education.
WOL Washington, WPRS HD2 Waldorf, WKYS HD2 Washington, WMMJ HD2 Bethesda, a Radio 1 station, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
Thank you for staying with us, folks. On the show, we'll be speaking with Dr. Mustafa Hefni. He's an Egyptian-American professor, and he's trying to get himself reclassified as a black person in America. It's a long story, but he'll explain it to us. Before we get to Dr. Hefni, we're still with Brother Richard Muhammad and Sister Brenda Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. And before we left for the traffic report, we had some questions from Don, and I'll let you guys respond to what Don's questions were.
Well, let me take the latter question in terms of Brother Don asking why didn't the minister allow certain people to speak. You know, I went back and I looked at the Million Man March national agenda and pulled out the speaker's program and stopped counting when I reached 35. Now, that is how many people were on the program, and that didn't represent the entire program. And so I'm saying I certainly cannot speak for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but if 35 or more had an opportunity to speak, that certainly says to me that this is a fair and just man.
All right, Brother Richard, do you want to tackle the other questions, or we want to take another call?
Well, I mean, just real quickly, in terms of Dianetics and L. Ron Hubbard, let me just say this to just really kind of be frank. Minister Farrakhan is a man who will go wherever he has to go to try to seek information that will help us. There were elements in the Dianetics teaching that he felt could help us as black folks heal. He looked at them. We as members of the Nation of Islam looked at it, and we took that information and we used it as we do with any information we get for the benefit of ourselves, our families, and our people. But you haven't seen us change. You haven't seen us dump our agenda. So it's about information and using the information to save ourselves. The other thing is, as Sister Brenda said, the minister didn't speak until almost 7 o'clock that night. It was so bad that the brothers on the mall started chanting, "We want Farrakhan." And the minister let an incredible number of people speak, many of whom did not even show up until literally the day of the march, based on the thing of unity. But he'll be speaking, inshallah, at 1 p.m. on this Saturday. And everybody, I would suggest you tune in to hear exactly what he has to say.
All right. 800-450-7876. Go to line 5. Charlotte's joined us from D.C. Charlotte?
Hi, this is Charlotte. I am the chair of the local organizing committee for the Million Man March, Justice or Us. Hello, Sister Brenda.
Hello, beloved. How are you?
I am well, thank you, and hello to Brother Richard. We're looking, I just want to put this out here, that we're looking for greeters and marshals for this historic movement, and they can sign up. Anyone interested can sign up at Ceasefire Don't Smoke the Brothers and Sisters, located at 4708 14th Street, Northwest. For those who use navigators, the zip code is 20011. Qualifying persons can earn community service credit. Again, we are looking for volunteers to sign up as greeters and marshals. We're open from starting today through Friday from 12:30 p.m. till 8 p.m. That's at Ceasefire Don't Smoke the Brothers and Sisters, 4708 14th Street, Northwest.
All right. Thanks, Sister Charlotte. And we'll give you all the information before Sister Brenda and Brother Richard leaves. 800-450-7876 or 8 after the hour. Let's go to Brother Jay on line 2. Brother Jay?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Okay. So my question is, justice or else? Or else what? I guess I'm going to have to come out and figure that out or find out that. I just think that it's a kind of like a bluff, because I don't think that we are prepared at this point to say justice or else. Okay, so that's the first point. My second, and I'd like to have an answer on that. The second question is, why do Muslims, and especially Mr. Farrakhan, for the past, 5 years, why does he quote more of the Bible than he quote the Quran? And I'm hearing that on this air, too. I don't hear a lot of quotes from the Quran from Muslims, especially for the past 5 years. And then my last, and then I'm going to get off, because I got 1,000 questions, but I'm going to ask 3. Again, with the L. Ron Hubbard, it just doesn't fit me right, especially as me being born Muslim and still trying to figure it all out. And then when you inject L. Ron Hubbard's belief, I don't care what type you going clear, you putting your hands on the machine, I don't care what it is. I just think that it versus the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching and everything that he taught. So I'll take the answer off the air. And please answer clearly and don't go off topic like you did the other brothers. Thank you.
I'd like to answer one of Brother Jay's question as best I can, and that is that the minister teaches from the Bible, the Holy Quran, the Torah. He is a man of expanded knowledge and teachings. And you have to remember that in 1995, more than 80% of the men that showed up were Christians. When you look at the numbers of black people in this country, they are primarily Christians. And we were taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to speak the language of the people. And that is clearly the language that they understand, they relate to, and they connect with. And not only that, Brother Jay, it shows that the minister does not allow religious titles to separate us. He has said on many occasions that he is a Christian, he is a Muslim, he is all of the above. Just as Joseph wore the coat of many colors, so does the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so he loves his people, and he's going to teach his people in a language using a message that they understand.
All right. Does that answer the question? Brother Jay, does that answer your questions? I think he must have hung up. 800-450-7876. And Sister Brenda and Brother Richard, if you can stay with us a little bit longer, I think we have problems getting our other guest on. If you guys can hang around, I'd appreciate it. 800-450-7876. We're 11 minutes after the hour. Let's go to line 1. Hamid is calling us from Northern Virginia. Hamid?
Hello, brothers and sisters. I want to make a comment. And I don't mean anything personal. The last caller, I think, probably is well-intentioned, but, you know, this is what I really want to address. You can hear sort of an aggressive view or kind of, you know, in the approach, right? And that's kind of what we have going. You need to go ahead and go to a break now? Yeah,
hang on a second, Hamid. I'll let you pose your question on the other side. Folks, you too can join the dialogue with Sister Brenda and Brother Richard from the Nation of Islam. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876. Again, that's 800-450-7876. Your calls after this traffic update on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Good morning, D.C. This traffic update brought to you by At Home, the home decor store. D.C. 295, heavy now southbound between Eastern Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue. Coming up from Oxon Hill now, I-295, your jam from the Beltway in past the Naval Research Lab. And then stop-and-go traffic continues all the way into the 11th Street Bridge. On the BW Parkway northbound at 450, we have the crash taking up the left lane. Your delays begin from 202. At Home is opening October 8th in the Manassas Mall. The grand opening is Saturday, October 17th. The first 100 customers get a $50 gift card. The next 250 customers get a free tote bag. This weather update brought to you by Compassion International. You can change the life of one child in poverty today when you become a sponsor with Compassion International. Find out how at compassion.com/radio. Mostly sunny and pleasant today. Highs in the mid-70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Lows in the upper 50s. Right now, mostly sunny. On the cool side, 51 degrees. I'm Tony Thornton for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Looking for a caterer to cater your next event? One that's professional, prepares great tasting food, provides a professional staff, and will create tailor-made menus and services to fit your needs and budget, and so much more? then you have to call A Touch of Class Caterers at 301-449-2082. For 18 years, A Touch of Class has been one of the Washington metropolitan area's premier caterers, providing you nothing but the best for your next event. So whether it's a wedding, rehearsal dinner, church function, repast celebration, or just a private dinner for two, and you want a little more class and elegance to make the day even more special, call A Touch of Class Caterers today at 301-449-2082 and let them take care of the intimate details. That's A Touch of Class Caterers, ready to handle your next event with a touch of class and elegance. Call them today, 301-449-2082, or log on to www.we-cater-2u.com.
As an entrepreneur, you're always on the go. So turn your mobile phone into a business phone system with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. Get a new business number or keep your current one. Sound professional with a main greeting and multiple extensions that forward callers to your mobile phone. You can even get voicemails transcribed. Join over 150,000 small businesses who stay connected with Grasshopper. See how it works at grasshopper.com. The entrepreneur's phone system.
I'm Karen, and two very important people in my life, my husband and my father, have been diagnosed with atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation, or AFib, is a type of irregular heartbeat. People with AFib are 5 times more likely to have a stroke than people without AFib. Talk with a healthcare professional today about your risk and learn how to manage AFib to prevent a stroke. Visit stroke.org/AFib to learn more.
Real Talk Radio in the AM. Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks, at 15 after the hour. Our guest is Sister Brenda Muhammad and also Brother Richard Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. We're talking about the Justice or Else rally that's going to take place on Saturday. And Sister Brenda, there's one for a women's rally that's going to take place on Thursday. We'll tell you more about that. But let's go back out to line 1. Hamid joins us from Northern Virginia. Hamid?
All right, so what I was saying is, I'm for anyone who's going to help bring my people together and restore their sense of dignity, self-esteem, respect, and their psychological, mental, and spiritual health, regardless of what you call them. You know, a lot of times we get caught up in these organizations. I went to this school, you know, University of Maryland or Harvard, Yale, anything, social things, right? Anything but associating ourselves with ourselves, right? And I implore everyone, and you can respond to this. It's more of a statement you can respond to look up the people of Tasmania, the Aborigine, the ancient people, the ancient blacks of Australia. A little island south of Australia called Tasmania was inhabited by these people for thousands of years. I mean, they're ancient. Europeans settled there and supposedly discovered, like America, around the 1700s. And dwindled their numbers down from, I think, around the tune of like the millions down to like to nothing. These people are totally wiped out, the people of that island, right? And so this is something that's not unique. This has happened around the world. As a matter of fact, I bumped into white African Americans. I don't know if you knew that. White African Americans, people who have invaded our motherland continent, and they identify with the beautiful, beautiful continent of Africa. And they call themselves Egyptians. They're from Tunisia, Morocco, and they're completely European. But yet our people in this land don't want anything to do with their homeland. And that's a uniquely dysfunctional condition. And that is so gravely serious. We can't afford to fight against anyone who even comes close to addressing this issue and healing us as a people. And here's my question. I believe in the concept of triage. In time of war, not everyone can be saved, right? You put your resources into those who can be helped, and, you know, it's not personal, but then some are just too far gone, right? And so how do you address this, and do you agree with this as a real concept? I'll take my answer off the air. And you can comment to anything that I've said, really. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ahmed. All right, guys, you want to tackle that?
Yeah, I wanted to say I thank my brother for raising the reality that we have to understand that this division based on language, this division based on false identification is used by the enemy to make us think we're all different. And so since we're all different, we don't have like a common cause, but yet we're all suffering in the same way. And it doesn't matter how rich we are or how poor we are. We are suffering in some way under white supremacy, and our future is threatened and the future of our children. We believe, brother, that this is the day when all of our people can be saved if we choose to be saved. We believe that we are the fulfillment of the prophecy of the children of Abraham that would go into bondage in a strange land and serve a strange people, but then the time would come when God himself would come. We believe that we are that people, and we believe that for people who have suffered for hundreds of years, consider this, the worst kind of slavery ever perpetrated on any human being was perpetrated on us. We believe that that suffering will ultimately be redemptive and will raise us to the high position that we were in the beginning. So, brother, we believe our people can be saved. We have to go after them. And so long as we go after our people, anyone who does not listen, then their blood is not on our hands. But our duty is to warn. The duty of the seeing is to lead the blind, and the duty of those who have knowledge is to impart that knowledge to those who don't have knowledge. And that's our responsibility. And fulfilling that responsibility shows that we love ourselves and we love our people.
Hold on. All right, 800-450-7876, 800-450-7876. Let's go to line 2. Let's go to Shayon. Shayon's calling us from Long Beach, California. Oh, it sounds like we lost Shayon. Okay.
No, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let me start off by asking the question. Since, a lot of this stems from, black Christians in the division of being taught to have a disdain for people from the Nation of Islam and Muslims in general, just by our teaching from when we came here on the slave ship. But I just got a couple questions. Where are all of the black ministers? Now, you can criticize Minister Farrakhan. Okay, that's fair enough. But where are the black ministers? I don't see them trying to organize a large gathering of black people for the purpose of what the minister is doing. I don't see it. Oh, I forgot. They too busy being reality show stars. I just watched this Sunday. I watched T.D. Jakes for about 30 minutes. The man wasn't talking about anything. Now, if you contrast a lot of these preachers' sermons, Christian ministers' sermons on a Sunday, and compare to what the minister is saying, there's no comparison. They're not talking about anything. And the problem is the majority of black people in this country are Christians. But let me tell you, the Christian church, black Christian church, takes in over $750 million a year annually. But yet we have no type of job infrastructure and quote, ghettos where our people need services the most. Our people need services in our community just like Europeans need services in their community. And our church takes in enough money annually to provide those services. And they don't even do it for their own Christian blacks who attend their church and give them their money every Sunday. So they don't got no room to sit down, sit by, and armchair quarterback and criticize the minister for what he's trying to do. Because the fact of the matter is, if they was doing what they were supposed to do, taking in $750 million a year annually, tell you what, our unemployment rate should be zero among black people. Our goods and services in our community should be 100%, but they ain't interested in that. Because, oh, I forgot, they're trying to buy a $65 million jet like Creflo Dollar. So they ain't got the black Christians ain't got no room to criticize the minister. Look at your own Christian ministers and what they supposed to be doing for you. They haven't done a darn thing. And if they had been doing their job, we wouldn't be in this condition. The fact of the matter is, before I get off the line, the majority of black people in this country.
Right. Shayon, I'm going to stop because we've got a bunch of folks want to speak to Sister Brenda and Brother Richard. If you could put in a question for them so they can respond, I'd appreciate it.
Hey, I'm done. I said what I had to say. Thank you,
okay. You got off your chest. 23 after 5. I'm just reminded that we're going to speak to Dr. Hefney real soon. But right now we're speaking with Sister Brenda and Brother Richard from the Nation of Islam. Let's go to line 3. Douglas is calling us from Temple Hills in Maryland. Douglas?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, Douglas.
Oh, okay. Yes, my question is to the brother.
Well, hang on a sec now. We want you to hold that thought because we've got to step aside for a couple of announcements. We'll let you pose your question on the other side. Folks, you two can join the conversation. We'll take your calls next. As the big show rolls on from the capital city on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
What's wrong, Tina? Where are you coming from?
I am just coming from the dealership getting my Mercedes-Benz service. Do you know it cost me $500?
$500? Girl, you should have gone to Magic Benz in Hyattsville. Their A services are only $250 and B services start at just $250. They are my premier specialists and have up to 40% off dealer prices and 100% satisfaction guarantee.
But how did I miss this?
But there's more. They offer professional services, tire replacement, balance and rotation, engine cooling system flush, body work for all Mercedes, and more. Their oil changes are only $99.
Michelle, say no more. What's their info?
It's Magic Benz at 4716 Baltimore Avenue, Hyattsville, Maryland. Their number is 301-985-2676 or go to their website at magicbenzservice.com. Thank me later.
No, I am thanking you now.
Do you owe the IRS more than $10,000 in taxes? The government now has tax debt relief programs in place, and you have rights. Call tax representation today. Join satisfied clients like Victoria. She owed the IRS $32,000. They accepted $300. She saved $31,700. Leroy owed $21,000. The IRS accepted $500, and he saved $20,500. Results not typical, but tax representation can help you. Has the IRS threatened to freeze your bank accounts, take your home, your cars, and garnish your wage? You don't have to fear the IRS any longer if you call tax representation. Call 800-566-2004. We are the industry experts with negotiating with the IRS and one of the very few that has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. We'll contact the IRS the same day, putting a stop to bank levies and wage garnishments. Call the tax representation hotline at 800-566-2004. Call 800-566-2004. That's 800-566-2004.
Real Talk Radio in the AM.
The #1 morning show. #1 on everybody's list.
Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
Thank you for staying with us, folks. Momentarily, we will be speaking with Dr. Mustafa Hefney. Dr. Hefney's fighting to be classified as a black man in America. Interesting story. We'll get that in a moment. But let's go back out to Temple Hills, Maryland, on line 3, where Douglas is waiting for us. Douglas, your question, your comment for Sister Brenda or Brother Richard?
Yes, my comment and question is, why is Minister Farrakhan still teaching Islam if he has found out that the black man and black woman is from the lost sheep of the tribe and the prodigal son in the scripture? Why is he still teaching Islam? And his research team has found out that the black man and black woman is from the seed of Abraham, as far as being the real Jews of the Bible. And
all right, Douglas, thanks for your call. Anybody want to tackle that one?
Yeah, well, the first question I would say, dear brother, is what is Islam and what was Abraham? We should never be mistaken by language, and we should never be mistaken by what we have mistaught by our oppressors. It was not the minister's research team that taught that we are that we follow the prophecy of the children of Abraham. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that. It is integral to our belief. And he had taught that we are styled in scripture in ways. So we need to understand that. That's not a new revelation. This is new in terms of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught starting in the 1930s. Islam only means submission to God. It's an Arabic word. But Abraham didn't speak English. What did Abraham call himself? Abraham is described as what? An upright man. Abraham is described as the friend of God. So Abraham was in submission to the God. And I hope that answers the question.
All right. We'll get to moving because we got Dr. Hampney on deck, and I want to get to him in a moment. But let's go to line one. Brother Siddiqui is joining us from Boston. Brother Siddiqui?
Yes, good morning, all.
Good morning.
Let me just say that in terms of Minister Farrakhan, that, well, first of all, our organization, we were the first to bring him back here to Boston many years ago when he first called for the rebuilding of the nation here in Boston. So there's no one who can tell me anything about the intent of Minister Farrakhan because I know about his love for his people. And so the reason why I'm calling in is that I just did a recent blog entry, and this has to do with Justice Terrell in terms of the minister's call for the boycott and sustainability. And the title of my blog entry is Celebrating Kwanzaa or Else. And so the question I would have, is there any consideration for during the march, per se, to call on black people to, in fact, celebrate Kwanzaa because of the fact that a year from now, like I said before, in terms of sustainability, seemingly would make sense to have black folks involved in something where they will have a tradition. And so by next year, they'll be talking about, quote-unquote, Kwanzaa and the 7 principles and the fact that we need not to be celebrating the commercialism of that period and Santa Claus. So I was wondering if that would be a consideration.
Good
I'd like
question.
to answer that. I think that the whole principle about not celebrating Christmas, the minister has said that Christ has been taken out of Christmas and been replaced with Santa Claus. And so we have been idol worshiping for as long as we've been in this country. What the minister suggests is during those days that we come together as a family, as a community, that we sit with one another, that the elders help teach and train the young people, that we share our gifts and talents, which is very similar to Kwanzaa. And so I don't think there's any separation in terms of purpose and principle. I think that it's all basically the same. And I think that the minister, he wants us to really fall in love with each other, to become families again. He wants
Can I say this, please?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me just say that I'm not questioning the minister's intent. What I'm making, the suggestion I'm making is something that to support what he's calling for in terms of sustainability, because there are folks who will participate in the boycott this year, but by next year to say, oh, yeah, well, that was last year. What I'm saying is we could have an existing cultural program where millions of black folk are involved, and seemingly if they were pulled into Kwanzaa, then next year at this time, they'll be, in fact, continuing that whole process of participating in the boycott because they'll be celebrating something that's about a culture with a standard that is relevant to what the minister is calling for.
Yes, sir. And I think you just answered what Justice or Else movement is. It is about the day after and the continuation and, as you said, the sustainability. And so, yes, that is what the minister wants us to do. And it's going to take people like you and I and some of the other listeners on WL to keep the movement going.
Okay. Well, I'll close with this. I'm just saying that I'm recommending very strongly that a statement be made that black people participate in Kwanzaa in the name of justice for us in terms of the whole issue of sustainability.
All right, good point. Thanks, Brother Siddiqui.
Yes, sir.
We got to let Sister Brenda and Brother Richard go. Before we do that, Sister Brenda, tell us about the event Thursday.
Yes, sir. It is the Women for Justice or Else. We are having a rally. It will be Thursday, October 8th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Plymouth Congressional Church, 5301 North Capitol Street, Northeast. Please join us. Thank you, sir.